Life after NaNoWriMo. So, what have I been doing? I have been proofreading, not necessarily editing. I have been correcting a few spelling errors. I'm making notations on the side for things I need to go back to, and things like that. Also been making notes for timeline, for character arc, that, because as you can see right here, I have my storyboard. Well, part of the storyboard is going to have the character arc and the timeline. I haven't done that part yet, and I need to do that. That's what the smaller post-it notes are for, or for different things that happen in the character arcs and during the timeline and things like that. And I don't have all of that filled out yet. When I was writing during NaNoWriMo, I would put brackets or parentheses, and I would put information. I left scenes blank with just a few notes. I have research that I need to do. I want to finish my novel, and 50,000 words or 58,000 words is not the entirety of my novel, which means I have to continue writing even though NaNoWriMo is over. I spent some time away from my novel. I took a break to refresh, to regroup, to rest. NaNoWriMo's intense and exhausting. Before November 30th, I took, I want to say a few days, but I think it was more like close to about a week. I wrote about almost 3,000 words on December 1st and 2nd combined, and then I went to doing the storyboard, and I journaled about my novel. I wrote some summary. I filled out some questions that were part of like plot and character arc and stuff like that, so I could figure out some plot holes. So my mind was still in my novel after my few days or almost a week break, but I wasn't doing a whole lot of writing of the actual novel, but my mind was in the novel. And that's what this is for. It's to help me, because this is about 150 pages of my novel, and I'm still going through. So now I'm back to writing. I've been writing this week about 1,000 words a day. It is December the 9th, and I'm a bit behind with the Vlogmas videos too. I have a video to put together and edit and upload, but that will be tomorrow. And that's actually for yesterday and this morning. Anyway, what you need to do after NaNoWriMo, I did a video about what my plans were for goals and things like that. But in order to finish my novel, get everything ready so that I can participate in NaNoWriMo, this is hot tea. This is apple cider chai tea with a touch of honey and caramel. I have to, one, keep my mind in that routine and the schedule and the good habit of writing that NaNoWriMo helped me of writing on a daily basis. So to do that, I thought, okay, well, what is the first thing that really makes a big difference for you when you're writing from NaNoWriMo? And that's having a deadline. So my deadline is to be finished with this novel by the 3rd week of February. I have a 1-week break before NaNoWriMo starts in March, because I'm going to need that break. Next thing I needed to do was figure out what plot holes there were, kind of get some more information about the empty scenes. I needed to check my outline, figure out what my ending was, make sure I have my timeline and my character arcs and character names and all that good stuff right. So therefore the proofreading and the storyboard. I needed to make a list of things that need to be edited, which is what those post-it notes and the notes in my novel are for. I'm not doing that in Scrivener. I'm doing that on this. And then when I finish the last part of the novel, I will print it out and the rest of it from the page that I'm on until the end. So that when I'm doing NaNoWriMo, I have a printed version, because I work much better from a printed version, and I will go from the printed version to what's in Scrivener and start changing things. I also need to set a word count goal. Now, like I talked about before, I figured I'd do 1,000 words a day. If I write 1,000 words a day in a period of time, I should be more than able to finish my novel by the 3rd week of February. you can figure that out by either how much time you have. Like for me, I have a goal to do NaNoWriMo and I want my book finished by then. So NaNoWriMo starts on March 1st and I need that 1 week break. So figure out how many weeks from when I started writing again until then, and divide that amount of words by the amount of weeks so that I can figure out what I need to write per week, and then figure out from there, divide that, figure out what I needed to write per day. I thought, okay, well, I was at a kind of a place in the midpoint where I wasn't quite sure what to do. I thought, you know what? If I'm not quite sure and I'm having this much, I'm like, some angst. Maybe it's time for something to be like for me to shake up the novel. There's definitely a lot of conflict and tension and things in the middle of the novel, especially where I'm at right now. So maybe it's time for a plot twist. Maybe it's time for me to kill off a character, to add a character, for somebody to betray somebody, for something big like that. So I made some notes about that. Figure out which way I want to go. And I also kind of figured out that during NaNoWriMo, in the very beginning, when I first started writing, especially like you're all enthused, I mean, my fingers were itching to get on the keyboard to start typing before midnight. And I was like, So shaking things up a bit gets you back in the story. Reading the story gets me back into the story. It reminds me how much I love the story and the characters in the story, and how much I love to hate one of the characters, how much I actually do love to not quite have a love-hate relationship going on. Like there's an anti-hero. It's a little bit like Dean Winchester from Supernatural. You love him, but then there are times when you hate him. When you're like, oh, you're so rude. Why do you treat Sam so? You know, in the beginning of the show, there were a lot of times when I was like really wanting to smack Dean. That's all part of like why you want your characters to kind of stand out. You want your characters to be lovable or to be hateable. You want people to be able to empathize and sympathize, and you want them to want to smack or to hug your characters. So I said, okay, get all this stuff now. Now, what else do I need to do? Well, I need to write. If I want to finish my novel so that I can edit it, eventually maybe publish it, then what I have to do is write. I could talk about writing. I could storyboard. I can outline. I could do visual boards. I could tweet about them. I could do all that stuff. But if I'm not writing, then the book's not going to be written. So I had to get back into writing. So this week I've been writing. I've written about 1,000 words a day this week so far. I'm pretty good with that. I've been blogging. Not every single day, but every other day or every couple of days, I'm back to blogging on a regular basis. I figured out some kind of video thing for this, and I was going to do Coffee Chat Wednesday, starting with the YouTube schedule next week. This week it's kind of been sort of Vlogmas, and I didn't really feel good Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday I went to bed early. Did not feel very good at all. I was doing good to get my 1,000 words written and to do my 750 words, which actually the 750 words is a lot of talking about my novel and the morning pages and working on that so that I get into the I need to write mode. So there's a lot, and that's why it's private, because I do a lot of talking about my novel, like what I think might happen in the next scene or what I want to achieve or my goals with it and things like that. It's a good thing because it started me back to been reading at least for 30 minutes to an hour a day. I am on page 110 in this book. I'm halfway through The Talisman. I'm almost finished with Bird by Bird. I am now in chapter 1 of this. Finally. My son bought me this in February when I had my surgery, and I'm just now finally getting to it. Had to read the other book that was before that one, and I just kept procrastinating with that because I did not like, spoiler alert, if you're a big Jim Butcher fan and you have not read it yet, Ghost Story, it's his ghost. And I kept thinking, okay, he's dead? He can't be dead. He's not dead. And I knew Ghost Story that there was another book, so I'm thinking, well, either he's going to continue to be a ghost or he's not really dead and he's kind of in this limbo. I'll finish, no more spoiler because I'm not going to talk about that anymore. And then I found out, because I got this last book finally in from Thrift Books, that this is the conclusion to the Odd Thomas series. I read Odd Apocalypse, and I have Deeply Odd left to read, and then I'll be reading this one. And y'all, that book is purple. It's purple, y'all. Because I've been reading. So Life After NaNoWriMo is all about reading and writing and drawing and getting some things fixed up. I can continue with the novel at a good pace. I can finish it because I have to get back to writing. I developed a really good habit during NaNoWriMo of writing every day. The days when I knew, like, if I had to take a break, extra the day before or the day after I took a break, I could add extra. And I missed writing when I wasn't writing. For the first few days after NaNoWriMo, even did a blog post about it on my website about how I felt guilty. Needed that break. Definitely, I needed that break. But I felt guilty. I felt like I was missing something. I felt like when you leave something behind and you know you left it, when you go to visit somewhere or you go somewhere and you're like, okay, my phone, where's my keys, where's my wallet? I felt like that, like I was missing something. That was because I missed writing. I had gotten into the habit of writing every day and I missed it to the point where I felt like I was really missing something. Like I was supposed to be doing something and I wasn't quite sure what it was, and it was writing. And I enjoyed watching Netflix and catching up on all the television shows that I had missed, and I enjoyed catching up on shows that I didn't even know were out. That's for another video. I'll do a Vlogmas video about the shows that I'm watching and the shows that I really liked in the series. I missed writing every day. I missed it. I'm so glad to be back into writing. But one of the things I did want to say, I ordered a couple Jinhao pens. I'm sure that you can pick it up with a cam, but this is a dark red and black swirly marbly looking pen. The ink that I have in it is the antique copper that Maya sent me when she sent me the 2 Jinhao pens she sent. This is one of them. I love this pen. This is like my very favorite pen. But I'm enjoying this one because this is what I'm using. I put the antique copper in this one on purpose because I knew what color. And I am using this for the proofreading because it looks kind of like a dark, faded, coppery red blood color, like flaked blood. Just kind of weird, kind of cool. So it shows up really good for like proofreading. And I am journaling. I'm a few days behind in the journaling. Like I said, I've been writing this week. Really excited. Things are going in a very positive direction, and I'm really enjoying myself with this. I'm super excited about where the novel's going, and I feel really good because it's all about some follow through. I mean, this is after NaNoWriMo, and you can finish 50,000 words and win NaNoWriMo, and you come out a winner whether you make the goal or not, because you have got back into writing and you put words on the page. But if you don't follow through with that afterwards, all that time that you spent during NaNoWriMo getting into the habit of writing every day kind of goes to the wayside if you don't. And I know I've been there, done that, where I wrote a novel, or I wrote most of a novel, or I wrote half of a novel during NaNoWriMo. And then after NaNoWriMo, it went into the Scrivener hard drive Word document basement and is now covered in cobwebs in the dark, slimy hole down in the bottom of that basement. Be touched again. Now, this particular novel is one that I started previously in a NaNoWriMo, and I took a break from it. It was a novel that I really wanted to write, that I had been thinking about writing, and started it in a different way. Previous NaNoWriMo, doing it like a family curse kind of thing. And then I was like, well, no, and I'm still going to go back. One of these novels is going to be like that. I think I may end up doing the witchy novel about a family curse, but not this one. But I kept going back to it, the idea, but I didn't have any follow through. And over the past several years, I have been participating in NaNoWriMo. A lot of NaNoWriMo for me has been finding my voice. It's been finding my process, finding what works for me, figuring out how I could do all this, have follow through, and get to the point where I can actually edit my novel and then start thinking about the querying process and publishing and all that good stuff. Because right now, I haven't really even done any real research about query letters or publishing or whatever. I mean, I know we've talked about in the tweet chats for Write Stuff about self-publishing and traditional publishing. I've watched videos. Word Nerds have had some really good videos about those things. And honestly, I don't know at this point. Right now, all I do know is that I'm writing. I want to continue to write. I want to finish my book because this is not my only book in me. It's not the only book I have in me. I have another book in this series and one more. To write about her twin brother. I want to write about her cousin. I want to write about her grandmother. But I especially want to write about the ancestor and the burning times, which is going to require a ton of research and is going to be more of like a historical. And I think I'm going to combine her, be the grandmother. Would be dual point of view. So yeah, a lot of work. So I'm not quite ready for that. I want these books to be almost standalone books, but part of a series where if you read them, you could go and read them in or out of order, but they're all interconnected and they do fill in holes and gaps and stuff like backstory wise, but you don't have to necessarily read them in order for them to make sense. Maybe they'd make more sense if you read them in order, but you don't necessarily have to read them in order. My goal is to write a series of books. I don't know that I want it to be as long as Charlene Harris's, series that True Blood came from. I would definitely love to write about this world, about the witchy world, the witchy business world, their family. I'm really excited about where it all is going. And the big things is that you talk about writing, but you're not writing, you're not going to get your book written. And there are days when it feels like maybe it's writer's block, but it's not really writer's block so much as it's fear and self-doubt, and you don't feel like the story's good enough, or you don't feel like no matter how much you get the story out onto the page that it's flowing, or that anybody's going to want to read it, and then the anxiety kicks in and you start thinking, why am I even bothering, because nobody's ever going to want to read this. And I remind myself daily that it's okay if this draft is just a complete and utter piece of crap. That's why I'm editing. I got to finish it, or it's not going to matter, because it's not going to be a whole draft. It's just a bunch of words I wrote, and I never finished the novel. So no matter what, I'm finishing my novel. I have a deadline. I have word count goals. I have my storyboard. I've upgraded my outline. I'm in the middle of proofreading and making notes so that I can follow the character arc and the timeline and get it all right, because I'm still a pantser at heart, and even though this seems like I'm doing it the long way, it gets my mind back in the flow of the story, and I am back in it. I feel like I'm a reader at heart just as much as I am a writer, and I need to get back into my story by reading it. And I'm a tactile person. I have to feel it, touch it, smell it. The smell of the ink in the paper, it works for me. Editing on Scrivener, proofreading on Scrivener, not so great for me. So that's what I'm doing. This is my life after NaNoWriMo. I hope you guys have a good one. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. And watching, have a good one. Bye.